Just realized I gotta do this back over. 1 second, chat. I know you can hear me. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Alright. Alright, chat. Alright.
Alright.
Okay. Here we are. Now you can hear it. Now we're all here. Oh, yay! Right? Are we good to go? It is my, thanks for being patient with me, chat. It's my first time, you know, integrating this as a part of a longer stream, so it took me a second to kind of like learn how to get everything up and running and going. But I am so excited because this is a first for me. It's not only the first time I'm integrating, you know, when we're trying out an earlier time, but it is also the first time that something that my ADHD brain just forgot. I love that. Oh, it's the first time that we're doing a show with a topic, like a centralized topic, because I've had tons and tons of guests before where we've just been taking generalized questions, and that is all super fun, and it's always a great time. But today we will also be taking general questions, but we will have a special where we chat a bit about polyamory. And I have two guests with me that are both, am I correct in saying are both polyamorous?
Yep. I mean, I am.
Yes, but I'll explain a little bit more later.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have two guests that you know, have a background understanding in polyamory, and are able to answer questions that I am not able to, because something that I really like to do is I like to learn, right? I like to learn, and I like to teach, and I like to bring on other people to teach things or teach about things that help me learn and cover topics that, you know, people may not know too much about. So this was something I've wanted to do for a while. I wanted to talk about, you know, poly relationships and that sort of thing, and you know, how I see them, and my own take on, you know, what works for me in relationships, and you know, all that kind of stuff, how that all like comes together. Obviously, when we talk about anything that people might not understand, I just ask that everyone be respectful. It is okay to ask questions. It is okay to be confused. It's okay to not fully understand something going in, or even after something is said. So just do your best to be respectful, and you know, try to follow what's going along, or what's happening. All right. So without further ado, I have two wonderful guests with me today that I would like to introduce. I have here right next to me Aurora Maki.
Hello, everybody. It's so nice to meet you. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me, Marina.
And I have Nikki Hart VT over there. Stand-in. See, the thing is, it's weird. Nikki doesn't have a PNG. Nikki is just very stoic. Like one of the guards outside.
I'm a bouncer.
Buckingham Palace, or a bouncer or something. Yeah, exactly. Nikki is our bar bouncer, and so
Yeah.
you know, he's
I
got
bounce on the bar.
Yeah. Hey yo, that's what kind of bounce are we talking about on the bar? 'Cause that's I'm gonna have to. Well, we'll do that later. We'll check that out later. But yeah. Nikki, hello, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me. Hi, Marina's chat.
Yeah. Yeah, so I will give you all a chance to properly introduce yourselves. You know, tell us a little bit about yourself and your you know, your streams and what you do here on twitch.tv.
Nikki, did you want to go first?
Oh, no, ladies first, go ahead.
Oh, so sweet. Well, yeah, my name is Aurora, and I guess I'm a variety VTuber on Twitch. I stream, I yell, I laugh. That's pretty much the gist. If you want to have some chaotic fun, you can come chill with me one day.
All right. And Nikki. Nimki.
Nimki. Obviously, my name is Nikki. I am a fox who likes rocks. I play games for fun. I also laugh a lot, and so I wheeze a lot. I am known for my wheezes. I'm also a variety streamer. Mostly RPGs that I play. But yeah, I don't know. I stream to have a good time and make people happy, and that's what I focus on. And so if I make you laugh, then mission accomplished.
Yeah, and you do. Both two wonderful streamers here, so we will we'll have a lot of chances to shout people out and stuff. But please make sure you go in and check them out. And do I have a mod handy? Do I have a mod handy right now that can update the collab command? Otherwise, let me do a quick ping because I want to make sure my mods can do that.
Mod check.
Mod. 1, 2, 3 mod. Oh gosh. You play RPGs. That made me really happy. I love RPGs.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite?
My favorite of all time is Tales of Symphonia. Don't judge me, please.
Why would I judge you? Why would I judge you? No. Symphonia is a very beloved Tales game, and if just in general RPG. But I mean, I love the Tales of series as well. But
So good. So good.
my favorite RPG of all time is Legend of Dragoon.
Okay, that's a really good one.
Yeah.
If I want to sound cool, I'm like, oh yeah, Xenosaga, the first one. Cosmos, get me some.
Oh, I would love to play Xenosaga. I never played it. I only played Xenoblade.
Oh my gosh, you need to play Xenosaga. You have to.
All right, noted.
I'm over here, unfortunately. Like I haven't.
I don't know what any
I
of
haven't
this is.
played any of these. Yeah. No. So the thing that's funny is I have Tales of Symphonia. I actually own it on GameCube. I just, for some reason, never played it. I bought it back when it came out on GameCube, and I guess it's just sat there. It's basically a mint condition copy.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Goodness. No, you should definitely play it when you have time.
Yeah.
Which I know that might not be very possible, but.
And that's the thing is like I really love RPGs, and there's something you can really like dump hours into, but that also sometimes for us is the problem, right? Like when we're busy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Tough to do.
Also, I want to say hi. My Oshi is in chat. I saw Rococo come by. Rococo is another VTuber who I have known for a very, very long time. I have followed and watched for a very, very, very long time, and I've always just really admired. So yeah, check out Rococo as well.
Yeah, really good streamer. And so talented.
Yeah. I know. I like looked and I was like, first time chat Rococo is here. Like, yeah. No, I watched Rococo for a really, really long time.
Yeah.
I see that Rococo. I love you, big fan.
Yeah. And then I was all embarrassed because I tried to write big fan, but I wrote Biff fan.
Biff.
I know. I like misspelled big. I was like, oh my, she's gonna think I'm stupid. I'm like sitting over. Yeah, right. Thank you so much for updating the collab command. I appreciate that. Yeah, so right there, if you use the collab command at any time, y'all can grab links for Nikki and Aurora. Yeah. So just to clarify for everyone, because I like to do this, for anyone who's new here, I'm Marina. I'm a variety VTuber. I like to clarify that my pronouns are she, her, since people like to ask. If y'all want to clarify yours.
Oh yeah, I am she, her as well.
I am they, he.
All right. Thank you. All right. So today, like I said, we're going to be talking about polyamory, but we're also going to be answering general questions if you have any. You can use this command right here. I'll type it in, but it's the question command. You can use that link right there, that ask.ping.gg/ask/Marina. Just click it. Don't have to type it out. But that link right there, you can use it, and you can ask any questions anonymously. You do not have to say, hi, this is my name, this is who I am, this is my question. You can ask anything you want anonymously, and then you have the option when we get to your question, if we're able to, you have the option of letting us know that it is your question so that, we might be able to better answer, right? We might be able to get more details and stuff like that. Yeah. So, yeah, I think this is something that's cool. And normally we just kind of jump into questions, but I got a few myself. So I think what I would really like, because I think polyamory is a bit of a complicated, I guess, thing for people that don't really know about, it. and it can have different definitions, and it can mean kind of different things to different people and have different boundaries for different people, right? So, I mean, I would love, if y'all can feel free, anyone who wants to jump on this. Like, if someone wants to give a definition, or you can both give definitions and add to it. If you want to give a definition to like what polyamory means to you.
So, yeah, I just want to clarify a little bit. So, I do practice polyamory, but I'm actually ambiamorous. And that's basically I am okay with living a monogamous love life as well as a polyamorous love life. So, I've had multiple polyamorous relationships. I've been solo poly, but anyway, my main definition for polyamory is basically having the ability and the want or need to have multiple partners. And that does not mean just, sexually, that also means romantically. You could have relationships with someone who's ace. You can have relationships with someone who's pansexual. It's kind of like this huge umbrella. And don't worry, Marina, it's also complicated for us too.
Yeah. I would have to say, yeah, same. What is it? What Aurora said. That's pretty much my definition as well. Just basically like being able or needing to engage in multiple relationships, with everyone knowing it, obviously,
Yes.
and being okay with it, and then I mean from there it's depending on the people in the relationship, like what the boundaries are, what goes on, what is okay, what isn't, etc. There's just a lot of communication, like a lot. So
So much.
yeah,
We talk a lot.
yeah,
Yeah. And I mean, that's something that ends up getting brought up no matter what the relationship is like our
exactly.
golden word here on this show is communication, right? Most of the time, even as obvious it is, like it gets brought up again and again, like most of the time when people seem to have situations they want advice about or they have issues they want to talk to us about, a lot of the time, one of the key things is communication, right? When people ask us, how do I do this or how do I do whatever? And it's like, don't be afraid to communicate, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's just always important. We try to really drive that home, that any kind of relationship you're in, any kind of friendship, anytime you interact with another human being in any way, like open communication is important, and it's a skill, and it's something that people should really, really make sure that they try their best to develop,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
that. I love that.
Yeah.
100% true.
Yeah, that's
Communication,
something.
honesty, and understanding.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Always really big for me, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, okay. So I hear your definition. Thank you. So I guess something I will ask you is what do you usually kind of have to deal with people that may not be aware of what polyamory is or something like that? Like, what are some ways where you might explain to them what polyamory is or how things work for you that they might not be able to relate to?
I think a lot of the misconception with polyamory is that it's a sexual based kind of relationship. And I think that's the hardest thing to communicate with people, that it
Mm-hmm.
is based on, it is just like having, a monogamous relationship. It's just, adding more people to the equation. And I think that's where the confusion comes in. I don't think the media helps too much either. The things
Yeah.
we see about
Yeah.
polyamory or, triangles or whatever you want to call it on, media makes it very difficult for people to look past what they think they already know. And I believe the best advice I have in terms of getting to someone else and being able to reflect and maybe change their mind
Mm-hmm.
is explain to them that, there is more to it, and that the media is just like the media for any other thing.
Right. Good point. Yeah, you want to
Yeah,
add? Do you want to add,
that's
Nikki, your own experiences?
yeah. So like people have a common misconception that polyamory means like, oh, you can just go out and have sex with whoever you want, whatever, and it's no, not exactly. And I've actually had people say, oh, I tried polyamory once, but You know, and it basically what they described was cheating, and I was like, that's not
Ugh.
polyamory.
No.
So, you know, and so people just have just this idea, or like they, you know, you tell people you're polyamorous, and then they think that you know, they have a negative reaction to it, like, you know, that you quote get around or whatever, and it's just, it has this negative connotation to it, and the
Right.
media is partly, you know, to blame for that, as well as individuals not doing the research either, or just making assumptions and running with it. So so I
No,
just,
Right.
it's very difficult.
oh yeah, the running
And
with assumptions is
mhm.
a huge one. Is all these people that think they're practicing, and I don't want to say, because you know it's hard. There's
Yeah,
different ways to do it, and there's millions of ways to practice polyamory.
yeah.
But when they go about doing it, and again, this is like most of the time they're just thinking of like, oh well, maybe this will be fun because I can convince my partner to let me have sex with other people.
Oh my
And
God,
just
yeah,
Mhm.
that's,
hearing that, it just breaks my heart, because I'm like, you could be having this most beautiful, fulfilling relationship, and you're choosing to manipulate your partner so that you could go have, you know, meaningless sex with someone. It just like blows my mind.
I see so many stories about that, and
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
very infuriating because it puts like a not a very nice light on polyamory, because people hear that, they see these stories, and they're like, oh, that's what polyamory is. I don't need to know anything else, and just leave it at that, you
Right.
know?
Close the
So,
book.
Can someone give us a clarification on the difference between like polyamory and what I think you're really describing, which is an open relationship, someone wanting an open relationship?
Yeah, so I think the easiest way to describe it would be an open relationship is kind of like a confirmation with your partner in a monogamous situation in which you both are exploring your sexuality and maybe exploring your kinks or something like that. And polyamory is taking the step to connect with other human beings in either a sexual or non-sexual way with the consent of your partner, and normally with your partner engaging in the same way. So and I know it's hard to differentiate those things, and I know they sound very similar, but when you're in the trenches, when it comes down to dealing with actual relationships and not just, oh, you
Yeah.
know, I have this, you know, contract with you know, my significant other, my monogamous significant other, um you kind of notice the differences. I don't know,
Right.
Nikki, how do you feel?
so for me, the difference between open relationship versus polyamory is basically, polyamory is, uh, for me, uh, having a very meaningful emotional connection with more than just with one person, and not, you know, not just sexually obviously, but you know, just having that similar level as you would like with a, you know, like in a monogamous relationship with your partner, but it's with more than one person, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
With open relationship, it's a lot more like you have your partner, right, your I guess primary person,
Okay.
and then in open relationships, you have your primary person, but then you go and have like relations with other people with basically no strings attached. It's a more casual thing. It is exploration, having fun, or whatever. Like that's I think that's the difference in my
Yeah,
opinion. Yeah.
I think it's also slightly interchangeable.
Hmm.
Just based on polyamory. Anyway, you use the term called primary partner. So for chat, a primary partner is very simply your quote unquote main partner, and it's usually what we connect the hierarchy type of polyamory. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, you know, a relationship at the top, and then there's separation of other relationships. I won't go too deep unless anyone's curious,
Yeah. Right.
but there's also something we called, you know, ethical non-monogamy, and I think that's more in relation to open relationships, and it can be in the umbrella of polyamory, But again, the practices are very different. You know, you're coming from a
Hmm.
monogamous relationship as
Hmm.
opposed to that communication, that strength, and the connection that you were talking about within polyamory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think open relationships could also very easily turn into a more polyamorous, if we're separating the definitions. Because, maybe you go have fun with somebody and turns out you guys actually click, and then you wanted to actually develop something more with them emotionally and have that connection and along with your other partner and stuff like that. So yeah, it could easily develop into
Yeah.
that. So yeah.
Communication. It is up to
Communication.
yeah, up to the
Oh my
conversation.
god.
Yeah, we kind of touched on this earlier, but I think some of the biggest things we hear involving the confusion is that either, like you kind of touched on, people who are poly are just like quote unquote allowed to cheat,
Mm-hmm.
or the vice versa, that, well, if you're in a poly relationship, it's impossible to cheat, right?
Oh gosh, you
So
could cheat in a poly
yeah,
relationship.
do you want to touch on either of those?
Yeah, you can cheat on a poly relationship quite easily. It's the same as a regular relationship. You know, if you're lying, if you're going behind your partner's back, if you're, um, fluid bonding with someone that your partners don't know about. Fluid bonding is basically not using protection. You know, like when you're in a monogamous relationship and you and your partner choose to stop using protection, and you
Mm-hmm.
both get tested, and that kind of thing. It's the same thing that couples in polyamorous relationships do. It's a big deal because there's more than one person that you have to worry about.
Right.
But when you go behind someone's back and you either, physically or mentally engage in a relationship without any of your partners knowing, and again, the definition of cheating is up to you. You know, you and your partner decide what that looks like. But if you're lying, you're cheating most of the time. So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you're lying, if you're hiding, if
mm,
you're purposefully leaving things out, stuff like
yep.
that, and just being sneaky in general, yeah, that is
Yeah.
no, yeah, it's the same as monogamous relationships. If you're doing that in a monogamous relationship and you're doing that in a polyamorous relationship, it's cheating either way.
Yeah.
There's no special exceptions or anything like that.
Because that's what it really comes back to, is what we talked about before, communication, right?
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
any relationship, no matter whether it's poly or not, it's
Hmm.
like communication is important, and having boundaries and setting them. For most monogamous relationships, the boundaries are basically, you are my partner, I am your partner. We are the only emotional partner for each other. We are the only sexual partner for each other, and that's it, right? It's pretty cut and dry, for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, people have their own boundaries, their own agreements, their own things like that. Um, because yeah, there's the same way that, like, any group or people or whatever, like any people's like polyamorous relationship can mean something to them very specifically with certain agreements, certain boundaries, correct? um
Correct.
it's the same thing with like a monogamous couple, or same thing with a open relationship, right? So for my example, um I have never felt like I have had the emotional bandwidth to have a poly relationship or be interested in a poly relationship, but that's just for me. What I have been involved in, though, like several times, is open relationships. So where I have a monogamous partner, we are each other's partner. We are each other's only emotional partner. Um, However, both of us are able to, kind of like you said, explore other things sexually, and really just differentiate the difference between sex and romance, sex and love, and stuff like that, right? At
Hmm.
least on that kind of deeper level. So I've had relationships where I have had, someone that I love with all my heart. And they're the only person that, I connect with on that emotional level. But, we've been sexually open, and I've had sexual experiences with other people while I was in the relationship, and they have also had sexual experiences with other people while they were in the relationship. And it worked for us, right? And yeah, I mean, this was kind of brought up by one of you earlier, but yeah, to me, it still seemed like an offshoot of a emotionally monogamous relationship, right? Um, where that was kind of something for us that, um, we both had to acknowledge we weren't looking for anything else. We weren't emotionally open to anything else or anything like that. So that wasn't really like a thing. And I think what's really important, at least it was for us, and I think from other people I've talked to, also Ariel, thank you so much for the gift sub. I really appreciate that. Something that was really important for us to talk about was where we were at emotionally, and the acknowledgement that if you have an open relationship, and Nikki, you brought up earlier, like, oh, like you can really vibe with someone, you can click with someone, you can connect with someone and realize that like there's someone you could have feelings for, right? And you could like connect with for a relationship. I think the thing is just, again, communication, so that two people who might be in a monogamous relationship, but they're exploring being open, they have to be able to communicate that stuff, right? Or know what's within the boundaries. If they've set up a boundary where they are monogamous and that is it emotionally, and they find themselves in that situation, obviously it's up to partners to be responsible and to decide, well, this is kind of pushing me in a direction which is outside the boundaries of what we talked about, so I need to end it. I need to talk about it, like whatever it might be. Like, but it definitely, like, I think you would agree, like it has to be communicated at some point, or just
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
One of those things too. There's this misconception that polyamory can help a relationship that's not going well.
Oof.
Oh,
I
God,
see it all the
no.
time.
Same thing with
No.
same thing.
Oh
Yeah.
let's add polyamory because that's gonna fix us. And that's, if you're having issues in your relationship, your priority should be fixing those issues before you take on or allow someone new to come into that situation. And I think that's
Yes.
the scariest part, especially with communication. You can't just like put things under the rug, and expect
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
to disappear.
And that's exactly what I was gonna add too. Like with that, is that, whether it's polyamory or whether it's just sexually exploring, I've heard people that definitely they get to a point where they're like, oh, we've been together for this many years and like things aren't really like going that great, so maybe this will help if maybe it's just because we've been together since we were like in high school and we haven't got to experience other things, so let's have an open relationship. And then that thing happens, and then the reality is just it's two people that might not want to be in that relationship anymore, but they're afraid, right? They're afraid to leave it. And they're like addicted to the comfort, but they're like, well, this allows us to explore other things, but also not leave our relationship. And
Yeah, serial dating is
Yeah.
kind of the term, I think.
No.
that
yeah.
most
Oh, I've
people are
known
looking
tons
for,
of serial daters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who like, yeah, and that's rough when, and for you want to go ahead and define it for chat for someone who may not know what a serial dater is.
So in my opinion, at least in my experiences, I guess, a serial dater is someone who is more willing to continue in relationships as opposed to being alone. They must be in a relationship to feel fulfilled.
Mhm.
Sometimes it could be because they don't have a great relationship with themselves. Depression sometimes plays a role in it. Comfort, like you mentioned, there's a lot of factors to it, but it's definitely um not great, especially if you're interested in exploring, because staying in a relationship and exploring to look for someone new is so disrespectful to not only the new people that you're meeting, but the relationship that you were in.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely, just so disrespectful and so manipulative, in my opinion, to even think about that being an option.
Yeah, I would agree. Generally, I've met people who I would consider serial daters, and they're basically people who, they have this need to find validation in relationships, right? Like they have a lowered sense of self-worth, or things like that, self-esteem. And they feel like they are lesser if they aren't adored by somebody or wanted by somebody or whatever. So they keep themselves in relationships. And then also, often I find, a lot of people who are serial daters will sometimes cheat on people because they can't take responsibility to end a relationship. And so they push themselves to just be connected until eventually it's they're hanging on when they shouldn't. And they're unhappy, and then they end up connecting with someone else, and there's those situations where they jump right from one relationship into another relationship, and I feel like it's way more common than people think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's really common, especially I believe, I guess again, it's kind of comes back to media where that it looks on TV and movies like that's an okay thing to do, especially when people are like,
No.
oh, well, I just feel something and I have to be with this next person, and it's just, I
It's
think
very much
so, yeah.
romanticized.
There you go.
Yes.
Thank you. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was looking for. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Drives me
would
crazy.
I would
Me too. Don't
agree.
worry.
You do see a lot of romanticization of that kind of stuff. And it's odd, right? Like,
Yeah, because it's a painful situation in real life. Like if you
Yeah.
break down some of the relationships you see on media or TV and stuff like that, the impact that this would have on a real person, especially someone who thought that their relationship was going well, that's a trust issue.
Yeah.
And that's hard to heal from.
Yeah. Let's see. We have some things in chat. Hi, Juzo. I think it's some of those serial daters are the ones judging poly because they're also assuming every single partner needs to fulfill that same kind of codependency, which multiple person codependency is scary.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of, and then that is a term that is used, codependency, for when you like those kind of people who need somebody else in their lives, and they will put up with abuse, they'll put up with mistreatment, they'll put up with just being in a relationship they're not happy with because they're dependent, right? They've created this codependency. Yeah.
Yeah, that's romanticized as well, and they get it in their head like, oh, I'll never find anyone else. Oh, that's my soulmate, or so on and so forth. And it's just such a painful thing to look at and watch. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's easier said than done. I've struggled with codependency in my past, right?
Yeah,
Like
none of these things are easy.
Yeah.
We're not back here saying that we're perfect.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
hell no.
exactly, yeah.
No way. Yeah, I've dealt with it. I've seen it. I think I have opinions on it because I've been in that boat. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, let me see. I feel as well that media really catastrophizes breaking up with people. It leads to a lot of serial daters and people scared to split when they're genuinely unhappy. I've seen that as well. Yeah. Making breakups look like they're like the end of the world, or like they're such a big newsworthy event or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Breaking up is typically never easy, but it's sometimes very necessary, and I think that's something that is not talked about as much, right?
Yeah, it's very much so. There's this thing, and it's funny. I have this with friends that are married. They'll tell me, they'll be like, "Oh, I hate my wife, haha," but that's marriage. And I'm
Oh
like,
my god. No. I
Right.
hate that.
no,
Ugh.
that's not what that looks like. And that's also media focused. Is that long-term relationships, no matter what, are going to turn stale, and that is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. Yes, relationships, when you're in a long-term relationship, yes, you get comfortable, but the disdain for your partner, I don't think that's normal. Love
Not at
and
all.
connection
Yeah.
and being, comfortable, that's normal.
No.
It goes from like passion to this is my best friend in my world. That's possible, but to hate your partner and be like, yep, long relationships, that's what it is so odd to me.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that media does, is glorify certain things, or they keep jokes around that create like cultural problems, right? Misogynistic jokes that are just like, haha, it's funny because it's true, it's funny because it's just the norm that everyone feels, everyone's supposed to feel like that old ball and chain about their wife, like,
Oh
but
my god.
yeah, like, you know what I mean?
You
Like,
could leave this person. Yeah, you could actually leave. You could stay friends with this person. You could have this person in your life and
Yeah.
then still not be in a relationship with you. There's so many possibilities to maintain people, and staying stuck in a relationship you're not happy in is definitely not one of them.
yeah. I think two two comments look like they have some kind of similar thoughts. I'm like 90% sure that a big part of the reason breakups are considered a bad thing is because of misogynistic values about having a pure partner, especially when it comes to women. And then we also have, I might be drawing at straws here, but I feel like a lot of romanticization and catastrophizing of relationship dynamics might stem from patriarchal standards we've grown up with in society. Monogamy might be being glorified as a way to control women and deny their autonomy as such. Yeah, I think I think it's anyone has to acknowledge at this point, if we're really having critical thinking, that yes, there are patriarchal standards. There is misogyny kind of embedded in society and has always been, right? That's something that we're actively trying to fight against for equity of everyone, in particular women, right? Like, yeah.
Okay, so we're considered property. Let's just call it duck a duck. So some people will consider women or female presenting people as property, and in such it is harder to get rid of things that you've paid a lot of money for, or in this circumstances given a lot of time to.
No.
So if someone wants to break up with you, it's wasted time, it's wasted money, it's this and that. I put so much into it, and it's really scary to have that thought, and it becomes like this standard that we have to stay in these relationships because they did all that for us, which is just so ridiculous.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely something that's I've seen happen, and people feel pressured. Yeah, sunk cost fallacy. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. All right, I wanna move on to a couple questions and stuff I'm seeing that are coming up that could be cool things for us to chat about. Here's one that I think is a pretty good question. So here, does this work? Yes, it worked. Okay. So our question we have from chat is, how does polyamory work when other sexualities are brought up? Like one person is gay, lesbian, not bi, or pan, since both work for them. So yeah, so let's just say you're in a poly relationship and you have different sexualities. So one partner might be attracted to or want a relationship potentially with someone else who doesn't align with the other person's sexuality. Is that an issue? How does that get dealt with? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
So, I think it's really important to understand that when you are in, let's say you're in a relationship with someone else and your partner has a partner, you don't have to date their partner.
Yeah.
That's not a thing. So let's say, let's just make it simple. I have a boyfriend, right? And my boyfriend is bi, and he just so happens to start dating a woman who is straight. She and I don't really get along, but I love her because she loves my mans. We don't have to date. We could be friends if we wanted to. In that circumstance, if she's considered like my metamor, which is basically just someone who's dating someone I'm dating, and her sexuality has nothing to do with me. You know what I mean? I think this is only brought up if both of those partners come in and decide that they want to date me together. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, it lost me. I lost it. Why? I hate when that happens.
There it goes.
Why? It's run away from me already. No, you said something that just like I really made me think about something. But anyway, Nikki, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I pretty much same as Aurora said. Like, there's definitely no like nobody has to absolutely be in a relationship with everyone or anything like that. You can date separately. And as we've mentioned before, some polyamorous relationships, they operate differently versus others. So it may be everybody wants to be involved, and then, or it could be, separate dating and stuff like that. Like for me personally, if I were to have another partner, I'm married, I have a wife. If I were to have another partner, and they don't have to be at all involved with my wife, unless they, become really good friends and they connect and, something blossoms from there or whatever. That would be totally fine. But the main thing that would be the most important thing for me is that they respect my wife and that they get along at the very least, right? Just stuff like that. And yeah, but not everybody has to be involved. And there's no pressure there at all. And yeah, it's just same
So,
what Aurora said.
be who you want to be, and
Mm,
it's okay. It
yeah.
works.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up a good point too, that I think a lot of people outside of poly relationships don't always think about, which is polycules exist, but also, like you said, separate relationships exist, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
As long as everyone is aware of everyone, and at the very least, that they all get along, even if they're not romantically or sexually involved, as long as they all get along, then I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it
As long as
works.
I could get the house to myself on Saturdays because you got a date, we're good, okay?
Yeah, right.
So we had a question a while back, and I wish we had that question, on now, so we could get some some insight at the time. But the question was basically it was a relationship situation where someone was in a poly relationship. I'm trying to remember this question correctly. It was a woman who was in a polyamorous relationship. They were with another woman, and that woman had a boyfriend. But the person asking the question had some trauma around men and was not very interested in interacting with the boyfriend.
Okay.
And also just had some kind of odd and off feelings about the boyfriend. Like, what do you feel? I guess my question is kind of like, how do you deal with disagreements? How do you deal with like situations where you may just not feel good about a partner's partner, right? Like,
Yeah.
at one point, do you make it worth like, this is something I should talk about, or this is something that I need to deal with myself?
So yeah, it's definitely gonna be personal between everyone, but I think it also goes into what form of polyamory are they practicing.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they're primary partners and you bring in somebody that is making me uncomfortable, or let's say we have a living situation together,
Mm-hmm.
that that to me would be a conversation, and I would probably hope that you wouldn't continue that relationship. I wouldn't tell you not to, but I would definitely explain all the bad feelings it would give me, and then maybe place some boundaries, like
Yeah.
you can go in and change your dynamic and maybe make the polyamorous relationship don't ask don't tell, which we just call that. And yeah, it's ask don't tell. You don't tell me what's happening between that relationship so that I'm more comfortable with continuing what we have, and it won't tarnish or make our relationship negative.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it really depends on what type of polyamory you're practicing. But yeah, it's a discussion. I don't think there's a really one clear answer unless you're in that situation, you know?
Yeah, I
Okay.
would have to agree. Definitely talk it out. Be very honest, uh and as Aurora said was saying, it also depends on what kind of polyamory situation you got going.
Mm-hmm.
Just there's no like one answer fix it all thing that we can say or think of, but definitely talk about it.
Yeah, it could be a boundary thing. Are you
Yeah.
stepping my boundaries in a way that is going
Hmm.
to make our relationship very difficult? And is it worth it?
Mm-hmm. There's
A lot of things to
something.
consider.
Yeah.
Mm.
Also, oh, okay, Trickster Faye, it was you that I was talking about. Well, if you want to,
Faye.
I don't know if your situation has changed or how it adapted, because that was quite a while ago. I think that was like several months ago. So feel free to give an update if you have any other questions or anything still. Since I actually have people that have experience, if you want to ask again, please feel free to ask. But no worries either way. No obligation, no pressure. Something that I wanted to ask was since we keep using the term like primary, right? I think a question that I and people might have is that is there always a primary couple even in a polycule, or like how does that work? Is there always a primary couple? Is there always a hierarchy or some sort, or are there ever just groups where, or multiple people where there's not really a primary, but everyone's kind of on equal footing? Like, how does that all work?
Yeah, so you can have a primary. You don't have to.
Hmm.
There's primaries, there's hierarchy, there's non-hierarchy, meaning everybody kind of operates on the same playing field. Everyone's feelings kind of count,
Hmm.
which they always should. But in a primary situation, most of the time they're probably living together, and there's more factors. Like perfect example, I had a primary relationship about 3 years ago, and one of our main rules for me, because it was just one of my things, is that their dates and my dates could not use our bedroom. Like that was our kind of sanctuary. We had an
Mm-hmm.
extra bedroom. We had a great living room. You can go to their house. That's kind of like a boundary that I set.
Hmm.
I feel like in linear or non-hierarchy situations, that's not going to happen. You're not going to be like, oh, that's our special place. It's
Right.
basically going to be like everyone can use this. We're open and we're inviting because everyone again is on an equal playing field. So simply that, it's up to you. If you want a
Okay.
primary, if you feel like that's necessary for you, go for it. If not, you don't have to.
Hmm.
Yeah, same. It depends on what you want and what you guys basically talk about and what you agree upon, and boundaries and all that good stuff. They, as Aurora said, uh, it could be either one, any of them. It depends on what you want and what you prefer, and it's okay if things change over time too, as long as you are communicating and talking about it, and being honest with your feelings and stuff like that, and
Right.
and figuring it out as you go. Yeah, Aurora pretty much got it nailed down. Yeah.
Sorry, I talk so
No,
much.
no, you're good. It's fine.
I actually, Marina, would it be okay for me to answer the comment that Croissant made
Yeah,
in
sure. I was
chat?
I was
Yeah.
gonna I was gonna touch on that as well, but yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I mentioned this before, so I'm not sure if you were here, but I'm actually amorous, which means I also dive into monogamy as well. And I hear that a lot, that people tend to kind of be like, oh, monogamy sucks. And I'm definitely not one of those people. I see and understand why someone would want to be in a monogamous relationship. I've had situations where I felt more comfortable in monogamy. So, yeah, if you're in a good polyamorous space, you're going to find that people don't mind monogamy. It's just not built into their system. Like, I chose polyamory. Well, it chose me. Like, if I'm gonna be completely
Hmm.
honest, polyamory chose me because I realized I thought about things differently.
Hmm.
I could love more than one person. I could have sex with someone and not worry about, feeling bad or that I was betraying the person I was with because of how much we communicated. It just works for me. And if it
Hmm.
doesn't work for you, then that's okay because that's the whole point. It's the option. It's the option to be able to live and be free in your relationship and whatever that means for you and your partner. So if anybody's shitting on you being monogamous, they're probably not in the poly space that you want to be in. I promise you.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, something I was gonna add too is like it's very it's a very human flaw for people to have, to be uh to think that their way is best way, their way is only way, right? Like, and that could
Yeah.
be people that are a part of the quote unquote norm or part of not the norm, right? But I mean, it's this idea that will there be a poly person who thinks that everyone should be poly? I mean, probably at least one person out there. But is that the norm? Is that the norm? Like,
No.
do generally most poly people understand that some people it doesn't work for? Yeah, that's okay. And also, like, something I want to put out there is you can be poly and have the idea that monogamy is a system that is pushed by society and oppresses women. But it's not about saying all women should be poly. It's all women should be able to be poly if they want to be, is more, I think, the idea there, right? Does that make sense? It's
that women should have the right to choose in their relationship.
yeah.
That's it.
I mean, yeah, like it's kind of like relating. It's something completely different, but just relating it for the sake of argument to trans identity. It's kind of like the difference of saying everyone should be able to be trans and being like the gender construct harms everyone, so everyone should be trans. Like that's obviously 2 weeks. Like that's not at all what the idea of like, gender roles harm people. So everyone should be able to be trans if they are, right? They should be able to practice their trans identity. So that's just something I want to clarify, right? Hopefully that makes sense. So again, if people are saying that the idea that monogamy oppresses people, I think that could be argued that the idea of, and for clarification, forced monogamy as a standard, I would agree. I think it is an oppressive thing, because I think people should be able to, on most things in life, do what they want that makes them happy, that doesn't hurt other people, right? Like, yeah,
100%. If everyone's consenting, it's consenting. They feel good about it. Again, you're not hurting anybody. You should be allowed to do it, and I think that's the whole point.
yeah,
Being open and allowed to make your own choices, especially as a woman. So
yeah. And every so often you are going to get people who, think their take on life is the absolute best that everyone should follow. But you get that otherwise too. You get that the same with monogamous people. You get people that are like, no, polyamory is stupid and no one should do it. Everyone should be everyone should be monogamous, right? Like that's the exact same idea. And I see that way more often than I see, someone
That was
who's
gonna be my comment.
yeah, someone who's
I see people
polyamorous.
shitting on polyamory more than monogamy, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it may just feel more aware to you if you are someone who is monogamous, who is hearing stuff directed at you, in that way. And I would just say I think this is a healthy skill for any human, is to just be aware of the vice versa, of the reality of what people are doing the other way around, and that sort of thing, right? Yeah. I want to check in real quick with Trickster, who had the person, and I don't know if I even cited their example specifically. That's why I was kind of vague. But let me see. They said, so they are the primary since they've been together the longest. The situation fluctuates. I more just get extremely anxious to the point of panic attacks when I'm kind of just thrown into the situation of being around her boyfriend, when I specifically took time off and spent money on travel to see her and spend time with her. But for some reason, she keeps trying to push us hanging out together with the boyfriend when I'm not in the headspace for it. By they, I mean her and her boyfriend are each other's primary, which is also kind of rough for me considering I see her as my primary, even though I don't have any other partners at the moment. Right.
Okay.
What are your yeah, I was gonna say, what are your thoughts on that, as well as how do you balance that imbalance, right? When you have two people who are primaries and one person has, their own partner, and then that partner, right? For that partner, kind of, like Faye is saying, Faye, that's Faye's primary relationship. However, that relationship is, their partner has their own primary partner, right?
So I feel like there's a lot of miscommunication within your relationship. Again, I don't personally know you. This is just solely based on what we're reading right now. There's a little miscommunication Because when we talk about primary partner, it's usually agreed upon both parties. Like, oh, you're my primary, I'm your primary. That's kind of it. It's a hierarchy. You're at the top. That's the end of that story. The relationship that I see being described right now is linear. Basically linear. With one dot, another dot, and then one dot just happens to be attached to another dot. If that makes the most sense. And I feel like your girlfriend in question might be trying to force your connection with their boyfriend, and that's a really uncomfortable situation to be in, especially if you have already explained your boundaries. So in this situation, I think you need to communicate with your girlfriend and explain that you do not want to connect with their significant other. I think you both need to discuss what your primaries are. And I think you need to, if you feel confident enough to do so, put your foot down about your needs and your time. In polyamory, time is really important. You have two different people or three, four different people that you have to give yourself to. And it can be overwhelming, especially if there's long distance involved, which it sounds like there is. If you took the time to go see your partner and they decided to involve someone that they get to see all the time, that would really bother me too. And that's a conversation. I would be very upset. So you have the right to talk to her alone and make a decision about what is going to be best for you.
Do you think, and Nikki, you can jump on this one. Do you think that do you think the partner could be possibly having this desire for a polycule? Or a relationship. I'm sorry if I'm using wrong terms, but like, you have a desire for a relationship where all three of them are in one cohesive thing instead of the two different separate relationships like this?
Not because we don't know these people very well, right? But like, it does sound like either way, whether it be that the girlfriend is trying to it sounds manipulative to me, and I would also be upset if I were put in this situation as well. It sounds like that the girlfriend is trying to force something, whether that be getting the two romantically involved or not. Either way is not good, right? Because there are clear boundaries that were spoken up about, and they are being ignored, and that is not good, and that should definitely like have a serious conversation, because there are some people who would be like that. I'm not going to lie, like there's going to be people who want a polycule and that's it, or a trifecta and that's it, and they will try and like get probably put people together or whatever, and it's just, nobody should be doing that ever.
Faye, has that has your girlfriend ever suggested any kind of romantic connection between you and her boyfriend? I'm curious. If you want to share that, you don't have to, obviously.
Yeah, I'm curious the communication level, because I feel like there's communication with the boyfriend that's not being spoken to with you. So again, we don't know you, but just based on that, that's what it seems like in my own experience. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that got brought up last time was like, if communication is poor between like her and you, Faye, that like maybe communication is poor between her and the boyfriend, right? Who knows? Sort of thing. Also, hi Mia, bye, I see you.
Oh, she just wants all her partners to get along.
Okay, so that's fine, like in general, right? But you can't force it. Nobody can force that. And I speak as someone, so like, okay, I don't know Faye's experiences with because am I remembering this right, that the like Faye has an aversion to men? Is that that was the thing, right?
I don't want to speak for Faye, but I remember last time what was brought up in that conversation was that there was there was a past history of trauma, and it was kind of playing a part in
aversion
the feelings.
to cis men. Okay. Same. So I speak as someone. I am trans, but I did spend a lot of my life living as a woman, right? So I've also had my experiences. I'm not going to go into it with mostly cis men, and I do also have an aversion to them. But and if if my wife were to get into a relationship with a cis man, I that would be something that we would have to talk about, obviously, right? And if there was something that I was not comfortable with or whatever, then of course there would be boundaries, because I would not tell my wife like, hey, you cannot date this person or whatever, unless obviously they're a piece of shit. Then that's a whole different thing, right?
Yeah.
Then that's like, you're making a mistake. Let's talk about
yeah. So, but as long as whoever my wife would end up with, if she were to pursue something like that, I would just, all I care about is them treating her right. So regardless of gender or how they identify, right? So but I would never, if she were to get with a cis man, I would never say like, oh, you can't, because I personally have this aversion to cis men or whatever. But it is something that I will have to communicate, something that we would have to talk about. And maybe at first, I personally would be giving space, and basically like taking my time. And I'm pretty sure I know my wife enough that she would not like force us to like get along or be friends or anything more than that. And because that's just, when you try to force things, you know that saying like when you hold on too tightly, you lose more control. It's kind of like that, And so, when you force things, you actually like make it worse, or like
Right.
there's no actual progress, right? There's not actual moving forward, right? So basically where I'm coming from is if the girlfriend wants the two to get along, that's fine. Can't force it. What can happen is just eventual like warming up, I guess. Just taking things slowly at your own pace, respect the boundaries, and make sure that those boundaries are being respected. And if not, then definitely talk about it and consider things. And just, it all comes back down to communication. But
yeah.
but it's your feelings matter. Don't think you have to put up with it just because like that you really like love this person, or that you really like this person and you don't want things to end or whatever. Potentially, not saying it will, but just everybody has that fear, right? So just if something that is not being met for you, speak up. I know it can be hard, but nothing will get done if you don't say anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just, and I don't know, take your time and just, yeah.
100%. A Persian can only go so far, okay?
Yeah.
Like,
But yeah, that's my take on it. So I feel a little bit, because I also have that aversion to cis men, but
Yeah.
that would be pretty much how like I would approach it. I know everybody's different, and not how I do things is not what I think everyone should do, right? Because everybody's different. But that's just basically my thoughts on it. Yeah. Sorry, I went off
All
there.
right. No. You're good. You're good. I'm actually just so glad that Faye happened to be around, so we could kind of do a quick revisit on that situation, since I had y'all here with more experience than when I don't remember who was the original group of guests when we had that question, but we we were doing our best without any kind of real polyamorous experience, so it's nice to hear that. So thank you for helping out with that. Yeah, and Faye appreciates it. All right, so It's been a little over an hour. I'm going to have us take a quick break because I got to run to the little streamers room real quick. And then when we come back in just a couple minutes, we will be answering some more. I see several audience questions. I know we've been doing it a little bit differently where, I've been asking a lot of questions and leading that. So we'll get to some of these audience questions when we get back. So stick around. We will get to yours, both about polyamorous and otherwise. I see some ones that are just general questions. So be right back. Be right back. Fen refilled my cup with gamer subs. I have some
Hell yeah.
guacamole gamer farts. Yummy. Yummy, yummy, yummy. All right, so we're gonna take some more questions. And yes, I see a lot of people in chat saying thank you. I want to say thank you too, both to guests here. Thank you for, taking the time to be here. It really does help people given your insight.
Thank you
Of
for
course.
having us. Yeah.
Yeah, but thank you to chat. Thank you to everyone coming to just, to learn, people having an open mind and wanting to learn more about a situation they may not be aware of, or, just people who want to come support us. Like it always means the world to see so many excited people here. And thank you for the questions too. Like, every question you ask us gives us things that we can talk about and such. And so remember, if we don't get to your question, because we do have more questions than we can get to, if we don't get to your question, you can always come back next week and you can, ask again, and I will do my best to try to answer it. Especially if I see your question again for multiple times, I will try to get to it. There's a lot of things I want to get to. I saw someone, I'm just gonna grab this one really quick because I saw someone asking it earlier too, and in case they have to leave or something. This is a pretty easy one. So someone's asking about tips for recovering from or preventing early atrophy due to trans femme HRT. For those of you that don't know what that means, it basically means that someone is taking hormone replacement therapy as part of their gender transition. So someone might be AMAB, assigned male at birth, and taking testosterone blockers and estrogen so that their body goes through a feminizing process. So one of the things they're asking about preventing atrophy. So one of the things that can happen, and I'm not sure exactly which part atrophy they're talking about, but there are a couple things that happen. One is muscles can atrophy. And my response to that is keeping an exercise routine, keeping a workout, your muscles will atrophy whether or not you're on hormones if you don't use them, right? And then the other thing that this may be a relation to is sometimes the penis can atrophy, meaning it can get smaller, softer, harder to have erections, things like that, as HRT is started. If that is the question, it's the same thing as the exercise. It's if you don't use it, it's going to have more trouble. Now, there will be things that will happen regardless, right? When someone with a penis starts testosterone blockers and estrogen, it's bound to go through some changes. The skin everywhere on your body is going to go through some changes. That includes the penis. It's going to get softer. That doesn't mean it can't get erections. It just means that the overall texture and things is going to get a little bit softer, smoother, kind of like what we are traditionally used to with like more feminine skin, right? If that makes sense. But yeah, so that's just something to keep in mind, is that there will be changes, but that doesn't mean that one of the issues I want to say that happens when people start HRT is their libido can be affected, and it can be affected in a way where it goes down a lot. So they don't have a drive to, do anything like masturbate or, do anything that might like cause them to use their penis, right? So if that's the case, it's just one of those things where you do what you can to try to, keep using it and such. But ultimately, ask your doctor for advice. Remember that it is not uncommon for trans women to be prescribed medication that, cis men sometimes get as well, or any other people with penises. Like, they can get stuff like Viagra or things that help them to perform, if they're having trouble with changes that might happen in their body. Everyone's body is different. Everyone works differently. But the biggest advice I can give you is that I know a lot of people are scared who haven't started HRT. They are afraid of like the atrophy before they've even experienced it. I will say, don't be afraid. Just try to use it as much as you can. Try to keep doing things the way that you've been doing things. And, hopefully it's not an issue, because yeah, I can tell you there is definitely chance that it will work just fine. Yeah, things can continue to work exactly the way that they did before. Yeah. All right. I just want to make sure that was answered to be helpful to anyone who needed that one. I have another poly question though that I saw on here. Where was it? Here we go. This is one that I thought was interesting that I'm sure you probably hear from people, but do poly people get jealous since some people require more attention than others?
Yes. Of course we do. Yeah, jealousy happens all the time, you know? It's just like a regular relationship. I get jealous, they might get jealous, and you have a conversation because it's funny. Sometimes I actually get jealous of my partner. I maybe they're doing something really fun and they're going to like a concert or something, and I'm just like, listen, I gotta stay home and do laundry and you get to go out. But yeah, so I've used this word before. We have something that's kind of like the opposite of jealousy, and it's very helpful in terms of getting jealous. The word is compersion, and it basically means being happy for your significant others in whatever they're doing, basically. So yeah, if
No.
you're ever feeling jealous, or something just makes you feel envious for any reason, you just think back, try to understand your jealousy, and then figure out ways to be happy for your partner within that jealousy. I think that's kind of says it.
Yeah.
Just I'm very happy that they're gonna go and have a good time, like that kind of thing. And that's another another misconception about polyamorous relationships is like, I could never do that, I would get too jealous. Well, I mean, people get jealous in monogamous relationships too. Polyamory does not mean the absence of jealousy or anything like that. It is it's there, just like any other relationship. It's important to talk about it. It's important. If it's something that's affecting you greatly, then definitely speak up about it. But yeah, what was the word you used, Aurora? The opposite?
Compersion?
Compersion. Okay. See, I never heard that word before, but I recognize the definition. But I didn't know there was a word for it. So okay.
Can I read something really quickly? Because I was gonna say I have heard that before, and I thought, oh, that is the word that I've been thinking of that I haven't been able to find again. And I'll pull this up. This is a definition from the internet. It just says compersion is related to sympathetic joy, which are which is our wholehearted participation in the happiness of others. It includes the positive thoughts, emotions, and sensations derived from knowing another person's gratifying experience, even when this experience does not involve or benefit us directly. And I think that's one of the big things is we like making people happy, but I actually I brought this up kind of earlier when we were talking about like parasocial relationships with streamers and stuff. It's like, it's the difference between having to connect that making someone else happy because it involves you, or just making someone else happy because they are happy, right?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Like in this, I think it takes discipline. I'm going to be honest, right? Like, I think this is not something that is necessarily just naturally felt. I think naturally we do feel those connections, and we do like to make people happy and build that, have that involvement and build that connection with us. And I think stuff like FOMO, stuff like, that's not the scientific term for it, but you know what I mean? Like stuff of like, well, if that person's happy because they're going out to a concert with, someone else, it might not even be in a poly relationship, right? Like we're just talking about like, oh, these two friends are going out and doing something, and like, people sit there and they get jealous because like they're not involved or isn't. And that's something that I think takes discipline. It takes growth. It takes learning to say sometimes things don't involve you, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that someone is any less your friend or in a polyamorous relationship, right? I'm sure you would agree that it doesn't mean someone is any less your partner or loves you any less because they are going and experiencing something else with someone else, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean. Yeah, go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
you first.
No, you.
Just really quickly, you can help some of that too. Like in that situation, I know myself. I do get FOMO. So let's talk about the concert. So what I do
Right.
is I try to not add myself, but I try to give my partner something that'll make them happy, like helping them get dressed. Help
Mm-hmm.
picking out an outfit for them, being like, "Oh, I
Mm.
think your date would really like this because this shirt looks so good on you." And that act of service, that love that you show the other person by involving yourself in their happiness, not their date, in their happiness,
Yeah.
will give you a sense of relief when it comes to that jealousy. At least it works for me. So find what makes you excited for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I was going to say is, I really want to stress that, um, you know, them being happy, like quote, without you, does not mean that, yeah, like we were saying, it's not less love for you or less attention for
Yeah.
you or anything like that, and it's not even meaning that somebody's taking it away either. Like um, it's you just that oh my god, I forgot the word again. Compersion.
Oh,
Not
conversion. Yeah,
compersion.
Yeah,
there's happiness for everybody.
yeah,
There's not
just
one out. Okay.
yeah, right. Just is what makes them happy. I don't know, like, and for me personally, like, my partner or partner's happiness is the most important thing to me, and
Mm-hmm.
whether or not I'm like specifically involved or not, sometimes, yeah, there could be like FOMO or feeling of some people will feel like left behind or something like that. uh just got to remember that they're not, leaving you out like on purpose or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure how to word it.
They're not against
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, exactly. They're not against you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just, you know, be happy for them because they're happy. And then, if they're happy, then you're happy, right? And so it's a chain reaction. It's all connected
Yeah.
that way. But of course, if something is bothering you, then definitely speak up about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, someone said it'd probably feel insecure if it repeatedly happens, to be honest. And to answer for that, you have to find within yourself some self love, or at least the
Mm-hmm.
idea of your own time with yourself. Because there's probably something more than your partner leaving that's making you feel insecure. And of course, talk to your partner and maybe let them know, because they might be able to see something that you can't. And that discussion is going to really help you
Yeah.
navigate those situations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's like I said, I think building that, compersion, building your ability to be happy for people regardless takes a lot of practice and discipline. It is not
Mm-hmm.
something easy. Don't be upset with yourself. If you find yourself falling into jealousy, you just have to breathe and remind yourself things. Because think of how common, right? Think of how common it is that people struggle with things like abandonment issues in some level, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like,
Oh, yeah.
struggling with and not working through those abandonment issues is a lot of the reason why when you have those situations, jealousy can make it really hard to feel compersion. Because, you start to fall into that, well, if they're having fun without me, they're just going to move on and not need me, right?
Yeah.
They're just going to get to a place where they're going to like become better friends or they're going to be whatever, and I'm going to get left behind. But the reality is there's literally no like reason to believe that or whatever, just for like someone going off and doing something with someone else, right? It's
Yeah.
that sort of exact idea that working through those kind of things sometimes is exactly what people need to be able to feel okay, right? So
Yeah.
I guess it's also just a way of saying, like, if you're struggling at home, remember, we are not mental health professionals. Like, you can talk to a therapist about stuff
Yes.
specifically that's important. Our show is fun, and it's great to hear people's opinions, and it's great to get insight, but at the end of the day, it's not a replacement for therapy. We're not licensed mental health professionals. We're just here to, you know, have a nice time and chat about some stuff. And, you know, at the end of the day, sometimes people just kind of need stuff. And if you're someone who's never had therapy, I'm telling you, even if you don't think you need it, it's not about quote unquote fixing anything wrong, or it's not for people who are mentally ill or whatever. It's not exclusive to anything like that. It's literally just a space for anybody, even people who didn't think they needed it, to just work through like things, just to chat with somebody, you know, to open up with somebody and get some nice kind of conversations for someone who is literally trained to do that. So that's just, I'm always a big therapy advocate, you know.
I agree. That's
Mhm.
great advice. I agree. Yeah, even if you
Yeah.
don't need therapy, sometimes it's just good, you know, just to talk to somebody that is an outside source, you know, just like gets it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I did want to. So someone said in chat, I feel like jealousy is a valid reason to not want to be poly. Saying they need to cope doesn't really feel right. I think I just need to clarify.
Mhm.
We're not asking our partners to cope.
No.
Yeah.
We're not saying get over it, like, or anything like that. No.
Not at all. We're asking our partners to speak to us, and we're asking them to explain, and we're also asking them to be okay with their emotions. You know, jealousy is normal. Being okay with themselves, their emotions, and how we navigate that. You know, jealousy happens all the time, whether that's with friends, family, within yourself. You know, you could be jealous of what you used to have.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
that's an emotion we all have to cope with and deal with, and it's nice to have a partner to discuss those things with. It just so happens to be that we're discussing it about our relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep. And if you feel that you are a more, and this isn't, obviously it does not mean that you're a bad person or anything, but if you feel that you are a more of a very jealous type, then yes, of course, that is a valid reason to not be poly. We're not, you know, we're not saying like otherwise, you know,
Yeah,
but like,
100%.
Yeah.
You know what you're good for, and you know what kind of relationships you want. So go with your gut. You know?
yeah, yeah. But we're definitely not saying that our partners should just, you know, oh, get over it, you know, like,
Deal
let's
with it.
shrug it off, deal with it. Yeah, like,
No.
not at all. No, no, no.
Yeah. I think
We
it's
want our partners to talk to us, and then
Yeah.
we ourselves should talk as well if there's something, you know.
yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
don't no just dealing with it, not at all.
No.
Yeah. Sadistic Kitten, thank you so much for the gift subs. I really appreciate that. I appreciate the support. The support in on my stream and in the show. Thank you. Yeah, so sorry, I got distracted. Yes, I think one of the things that's important too is no one can tell anyone to be in a poly relationship or be poly. Like, being polyamorous is not like something you just choose to do, no more than it's something that you choose for your gender identity or sexuality. It is like it is a part of your identity that you discover about yourself, right? Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah.
Would you agree?
100%.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's super scary not knowing that part of yourself and feeling like you're wrong.
Yeah.
It's
It's
a
just
feeling.
different wiring,
Oh,
pretty much
100%.
is how I put it. Yeah.
So
that's literally.
it is, you know, no more a valid thing to try and tell someone that they need to be poly or they should be poly than it is to tell someone they should be straight or should be gay or should be, you know, anything like that. Like, it's just the discussion is more, oh, are you having certain feelings like this? You might be poly. You might want to explore what polyamory is or how that works and see if that fits for you. But you know, at the end of the day, if you are someone who is not polyamorous and someone is approaching you and trying to convince you that you are or that you should be, that's, they don't really have your best interests at heart, and I wouldn't
No.
really pay them any mind. Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably not so good at polyamory anyway.
Yeah, no. Definitely not.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, it's It's just one of those things. Like I said, I touched on this earlier. I think it's people of any kind of group. Sometimes people think that their experiences or other people's lived experiences that is not unique to any particular, group, identity, sexuality, anything like that. You just, do what's best for you. That's all you should really worry about.
Yep.
All right. Let me see. Let me grab something else for us because we have so many questions.
I love it.
Okay. So this is just a little silly to me, but I also this makes me want to ask another question too. Someone asked, does spit roasting your partner exist because of polyamory? And I definitely, for those of you that don't know what a spit roast is, like the idea of when you have a big slab of meat on a stick and you're like spinning it around to cook it like a rotisserie chicken. And so the term spit roasting, if you can imagine, instead of a stick, you have two other stick-like things approaching a person from either end. Yeah. But
Saturday night.
I think the question really that I want to like turn this into or ask is, just I guess the clarification of how like sexuality doesn't necessarily have to play a definitive part in polyamorous relationships, right? Like I'm sure there are relationships where partners can engage in multi-person sex, but then as we've said before, there are different relationships inside polyamorous relationships, right? Where there could be like absolutely no sexual involvement between partners.
Yeah, no, it's definitely 100%. You could do it's so funny because we keep having this conversation. We're like, well, it depends. It depends on your relationship.
Yeah.
But it's so true. It depends on your relationship. Like personally, I'm a fan of DP. So yes, I do enjoy that type of stimulation in the bedroom. But at the same time, I've dated aces who don't engage in anything sexual at all. I've also dated aces that engage in sexuality for compersion purposes, So it's really up to you, And polyamory also does include, having sexual relationships with, partners outside of other partners and all of that. So it's a mixed bag of whatever makes you comfortable, whatever makes, your relationship comfortable. And again, the communication. What do we want? What are our boundaries? And how are we going to enjoy this together or outside of this particular relationship?
Yeah. Yeah. You want to add anything to that, Nikki?
No, that's pretty much well said.
Oh, gosh,
Okay.
no. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. We have similar opinions and we're just we're in sync. We're good. You're good.
Healthy polys over here, I'm thinking.
Yeah. Damn.
Let's go.
I'm going to ask a question that I'm pretty sure I already know the answer to. It's more just for the sake of asking for chat and stuff. But are there situations where a poly relationship can exist with separate relationships where, there's not, it's not like a trifecta or, a larger polycule relationship or something? Are those relationships there can be separate relationships, but partners can either occasionally or often engage in like sexual interactions together?
Nikki, did you want to take this one?
Put me on the spot. I forgot the question.
Sure.
Yeah. Sorry. Repeat the question.
Yeah, I can ask again. Basically, what I'm saying is, are there situations where, there can be separate relationships in a situation where someone's polyamorous, right?
Right.
Maybe there's two separate relationships going on there, right? Someone's a partner with one person and that person's a partner with another person. Are there situations where there can maybe not be that emotional bond, but everyone can engage in sexual activities together? Like, do you ever hear about that or know about that from anything?
I definitely know that is a thing that can and does happen. Yeah. Yeah, it is a very possible thing. I just you guys, if you guys talk about it, and like it just, what happens, right? So, um, yeah, it's definitely a thing.
I can make it anecdotal. I have like a story.
Okay,
Sure.
because I don't have any like I don't have too much personal experience with that kind of thing, but I just know that is a thing that it exists.
For the
sure.
for the purposes of education, tell us your story.
Yes, there's not gonna be. You're not getting anything else. It's just a story.
Okay, all right.
I had a primary partner,
Mhm.
and at the time, he had a girlfriend and I had a boyfriend. So during the same time, we would go our separate ways, and he would go visit his girlfriend or go on a vacation, and I would go visit my boyfriend, and we would go on a vacation or something like that.
Mhm.
During one of the vacations, my boyfriend that I was with had his best friend there, and she was very interested in me sexually. So I went
Mm.
on a voice call with my primary, and I was like, "Hey, this person introduced, blah blah blah, would like to engage with me and my boyfriend. How do you feel about that?" My primary was like, "Go for it, have a good time," and then therefore we engaged in sexual relations.
Mhm.
I engaged with my boyfriend's best friend, and he actually just watched because he was just chilling. Wasn't in the mood, he was just chilling. It's so
Chilling.
funny. Yeah, I just tell people this story all the time because he literally was like eating popcorn, drinking a beer, just like have fun. I love you guys. And yeah, but this friend, who we're still friends, of course. That was the
Wait,
only time.
just for clarification, your boyfriend at the time was watching, or the friend was watching?
No, the boyfriend was watching. Yeah, he
Okay,
just was
okay.
like, "Oh, have fun with the friend."
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm still friends with this said friend, and we've only engaged sexually once, and it was fun, and that was it. And yeah, so to answer your question, there you go.
There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah,
Yeah, I
it is
mean,
a thing.
I mean that's why I said I assume I know the answer to this question, because it's like any
Mm.
healthy adult like relationship or friendship, right? Like I have friends that I've known that as an adult we've just had sexual encounters with each other and never a relationship or anything. We've just done things, and we're adults, and we're able to just continue living our lives, and
Yeah,
it's just chill, it's just cool, like
exactly.
that's very, very normal. So I assumed in the same situation, but basically kind of like the differentiation I wanted to really point out here or make for people watching or learning is that there can be different agreements for sexual things versus romantic things, right?
Yeah,
um
exactly.
Oh yeah,
yeah, it's
100%.
the same way we go back to the idea of like someone being in a monogamous relationship and deciding to like bring in a third or something, right? Like just for to
Hmm.
have a threesome, to have a special sexual experience, but they're still emotionally monogamous. I'm assuming that that potentially could happen in a situation where, you know, someone with their primary relationship can bring in a third, but that third could also happen to be like their primary's other partner, right? Like that's a
Yeah,
possibility.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, also the rules. Like I had with that same primary partner, we had travel, don't ask, don't tell kind of situations. Like if I
Hmm.
was in
Hmm.
Korea for a month and I needed to engage in something because I got a connection with someone, I'm most likely not going to date this person in Korea. They're very far from me. Like, we're going to have some fun, maybe. That's just
Yeah.
life gives you so many situations in which you're allowed to navigate and choose what you want to do. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. And if you've communicated it before and there's an understanding, of like if
Mhm.
something happens, like this is something that might happen. Is that okay? And obviously it's been agreed upon, then yeah, then
Yeah.
there's no issues in that
Always,
situation.
yeah, always discussions beforehand, what's okay, boundaries, and that's it. Talk about it.
I think
Yeah,
some
yeah.
people also have this idea that there's like some sort of I guess it is like sort of like feeling there's strings attached, or there has to be, or some sort of obligation. Like if you were like if I had if I had a friend, right, and we explored each other,
No.
uh, but we can still just be friends. We don't actually have to like be in a relationship or be emotionally like involved in that way, but like we can still be friends or whatever. And just I think some people have trouble wrapping their heads around that. Like for me, that is like like, oh yeah, that's normal to me, I guess. But like, some people feel like it could be awkward, or there's obligations or something, and they feel weird about it or whatever. And of course, like that's fine. Like if that's like something you can't do or don't want to do or something, then of course. But we were talking about, basically this more of an open relationship type deal, I guess. Yeah, I just I don't know. That's pretty much my similar experience, I guess, with that. But
I love that you said you were like, oh, that's just how I feel. I don't get that attachment like that. I feel like that right there is a very tell sign that you're poly. Like, like that's just that feeling that you have not knowing what polyamory is, but you have that. You're like, well, why don't I feel this is weird?
yeah, I don't know. For me, it just seems like normal, and like I don't see anything wrong with it either, because there is nothing wrong with it. But like people have these misconceptions and stuff like that. But yeah, just
yeah. There's nothing
as
wrong
long
with
as everything's communicated.
There's nothing wrong with kissing a homie, chat. Can we get some
yeah, I'll slap their ass a little.
Yeah, can we get some kiss a homies in chat? We can yeah.
Kissing the homies.
Exactly.
Do it.
Hold on, where is it?
Yeah. We all just gotta.
Yes.
I'm just gonna do this right now.
We all just gotta
kiss
a homie. Kiss a homie, you know?
I gotta save this. This has to be part of my life.
Okay. Yeah. All right. You know what? I know we started a little bit late, but we've talked so much. We've answered quite a few. I'm gonna say, why don't we take one more question, and then I will let you get to your next obligation, Nikki, and I'll go ahead and we'll start signing off after that. But yeah, let me see if I can find another one that's a nice for us to take here.
I don't know if anything's gonna top the spit roasting, but
yeah, right.
That was like, yep, no, we definitely we invented that, actually.
100%. Yeah. Coin operated. It's in our, we go to meetings every Saturday. It's on the top. Big bold red letters.
Okay, this one I think is interesting and worth checking out as our last question. And someone is asking, have you had a poly relationship where you were consistently with one person, but any other people joined in or left? So person A and B, so you're with person A and B. B leaves, then C joins in, and so on. Like, either is this an experience you've had or experience you've heard about with other people, perhaps, where two people are together, and then a third party comes in and maybe dates for a while and then leaves. Then another third party comes in, so on and so forth.
Yeah, totally. I had a primary partner for about 5 years, and we both had relationships on and off. We had relationships together. We had other poly couples that we dated together. I think this is very common, especially when you have a primary or a polycule or just, a long-term relationship with or, a significant other. I think it's just kind of normal to have that dynamic, play a part in your life. So yeah, I think that's actually very normal.
I never experienced it myself, but I have heard about it and seen it. But yeah, it's a normal thing.
All right. I want to give a huge thank you to both of you for coming and joining me today. This was super enlightening. I really feel like I learned a lot, and it's always nice to just hear other people's experiences and get some clarity on that. So chat, I hope you learned some stuff too. I'm glad we got to answer some questions. For the many people whose questions we did not get to answer, I apologize, and I just ask that you consider coming back again. We do this every single week. Most likely we will be back around the same time next week, but I think Sunday is going to be our new sex ed day. Keep an eye out on the Discord. If you're not already in the Discord, join the Discord. That's where I announce my schedules and I let everyone know about that. Also, here's my socials. You can follow my Twitter. I will also announce on Twitter and stuff when I do these, so you'll have an idea. But yeah, if I didn't get to your question, please feel free to ask it again. Trans rights pog, please feel free to come back and ask again. And hopefully we'll get to it next time. But thank you so much. Yes, the VOD will be up, and hopefully the plan is to start getting some of these uploaded onto YouTube as highlight videos. We have a few in the works already, so we'll see when those start dropping, but hopefully soon. I want to drop this collab command again. There are the links for Nikki and Aurora. Please go check them both out. Just go drop a follow. Check them out when they're live next. Aurora, when are you live next?
I will be live on TikTok tomorrow, and I'll be live on Twitch on Tuesday, 1 p.m. PDT for both of those.
Okay, 1 p.m. Pacific time. You'll be streaming actually on TikTok tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
So go check out Aurora. You can follow. I'm assuming everyone can find your TikTok link off your Twitch.
Oh yeah, easy.
All right, so yeah, easy. You can go find Aurora's TikTok. Check her out over on TikTok. And then Nimki, when can we catch you next?
Oh, in like 15 minutes or so.
In just a few minutes.
In just a few minutes. Maybe not 15, but in a few minutes.
All right. Well, then I will let you exit the bar. Thank you so much. I want to thank you again for being here. I'll go ahead and let you head out. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for having me, and I'll see you guys around.
Enjoy your stream.
Thank you for the questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
All right.
So precious. Oh gosh.
Yeah, I love him.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm gonna let Nikki start stream, and then I think we should all go over and say hi to Nikki and give him some love over on his stream, right? So we can chat a little bit. We can maybe even take another question if we want to, just to take some time and see.
Chat, you better stick around. We're gonna go to another stream. Don't go nowhere.
All right, here. Let's get your opinion here. So, someone is asking. Someone's giving us a situation. Cis straight guy, just over 30. If everything works out, I'll be moving from a shitty dead suburb to a nice city in the fall. Okay, so moving to a city, lots of people. Between living plus an hour from dating site matches, having social anxiety, non-stop toxic social environments, I have zero sexual experience and minimal romantic experience. Okay, so they haven't a lot of relationships, haven't a lot of sexual experience. Obviously, I'll be working on my social life once I move in, but how can I improve my dating life? You got some advice for someone starting out in the dating pool?
Yeah, totally. I love this because I jump around a lot too. I move a lot just because it's my personality and I like being in different places. So I understand having new environments or a different environment. The people, the dating pool, completely different in every place. I've experienced myself.
Mhm.
When it comes to dating and having a social life in general, especially when it comes to anxiety, I have a lot of social anxiety. I believe the best thing to do is pick up a quote unquote social hobby. And that could be, going to drink and painting. That could be, sculpting. It could be jogging, yoga at the beach. Anything that you can enjoy, whether there's people or not, is really the first step. Choose something that's going to make you feel really good because that's going to give you a chance to step out of your box. And it's also going to give you a chance to find like-minded people. And it's okay not to have experience. It's really fine. Arcades, that's a great one. Barcades are great. I always tell my chat that's like my go-to first date. If I meet someone, I'm like, barcade? Yes. But the first thing you want to do is improve yourself in terms of that. And the people around you are going to follow. You're going to meet people and it's just going to happen because it's life. So, yeah, good luck. And I know it's going to work for you. I know it.
Yeah. I think you make a good point. I think it's the kind of thing where, like, if you're just walking down the street and you're like, wow, that person's, really attractive, and you start talking to them, they could be into anything. And there's no reason, you can't necessarily strike up a conversation with someone in a random situation at a random place, but let's say you're really into board games and you see someone at a board game shop who you find attractive. Well, you already are going to assume that you may have more in common, if that situation. Or if you are an avid reader and you see someone at a bookstore like that, it's a kind of idea where if you seem to be looking in places that may overlap with your interests, there's a higher chance of finding people with interests in common, is one thing that I would say. And I would recommend utilizing, when you are there and trying to meet people, I would recommend utilizing things like OkCupid over something like Tinder, because a lot of these places and dating sites have, like, you can write your bio, you can specifically talk about things you're interested in, and you can look for people that are interested in similar things. You can get a lot more about a person than, something that is definitely more like attraction based. There's a reason why Tinder and stuff is known as like the hookup app, right? Because a lot of it is just about swiping based on physical attraction. So that's something, yeah, that's something that I would definitely recommend. And big piece of advice is don't force it. Never put yourself in a place where you feel like you are forcing your relationships. If you really want a relationship, make sure that you are happy with where you are at and your own self-love and your own self-respect and all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Don't fall into the trap of, I'm ready for a relationship. Oh, I really need a relationship. And then you build that desperation of a relationship, and then you're way more willing to get into situations that you might not if you were in a bit of a clearer head and not feeling like you really needed to push yourself, right?
Be okay being alone. Loneliness only happens when you can't have a conversation with yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important to think about when it comes to quote unquote being ready to put yourself out there,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. I would agree with that. And I mean, this is kind of like what we talked about earlier. We talked about serial dating and stuff like that. And I mean, this is a question from someone who's like getting into like early relationships. I wouldn't call this person a serial dater, but I think it's still good to be mindful of those situations, right? The motivations that people have for when they feel like they need to be in relationships and when they get pushed to be in relationships, because it feels like the sense of fulfillment. A lot of people who aren't in relationships feel like they're really missing something in their life because they don't have a connection with somebody. And I understand that, right? As someone who is in a relationship, it's very fulfilling for me, but I feel like I have a good sense of self-worth to know that I have lived my life happily outside of a relationship, and I don't feel like my relationship is my absolute most important thing in my life ever. Like nothing else, is worth living or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, 'cause some people actually really put a lot of emphasis on that.
You need happiness within all, areas of your life.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to do, by no means. But it should be something that you strive for, at least. Again, if you're finding yourself quote unquote ready to put yourself out there.
Yeah. And when you like start a relationship, it's okay to pour, like love and support and whatever into that person. I'm not saying that or anything like that. I'm just saying don't forget to keep pouring love into yourself too. Right?
Yeah.
That's the thing that's important. Try not to fall into codependent traps. That's good advice for anybody. Try not to fall into codependency. Try to make sure that you have your own space, your own happiness. Your life doesn't shift and just become your relationship, right? That's always important. Make sure your hobbies, your job, whatever it might be. No, sorry, you go ahead. Go ahead.
No, just make sure your cup is never empty. That's like the idea, You could spread, but keep some for yourself.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, I think we're about time to wrap it up. I want to thank you again. Thank you so much, Aurora, for being here. I had a wonderful time. I had a wonderful time having you. Let me drop this collab one more time. This for Nikki and Aurora. Please make sure you follow them both. Yeah, I'm sorry, you were saying something?
Oh, no, I said thank you so much for having me. I had a really good time. Like, the questions were really great, and I felt I felt like I had things to say, which was it was really helpful to make things, you know.
Yeah, I'm so glad.
Talking.
Yeah, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. All right, gamers. Well, I'm gonna send us over to Nikki, he's just getting started right now. I didn't want to keep him, so I let him, you know, leave a little early. But yeah, we're gonna go give some love to Nikki. Let's go. Yeah, let's go say hi and hello. So we're gonna say, thank you. We learned so much from teacher Nikki. Oh, let's do it. Oh, I hate this thing. I hate this thing with what do you call it? With Twitch chat, when you like push up or down on your chat, it like goes to an old message that you typed. I'm so confused.
Yeah.
All right, there we go, gamers. That's our raid message. Let's copy that raid message. Yeah, thank you. We learned so much from teacher Nikki. Let's go send that to him when we go over and raid. Again, if you didn't already, here's my Discord. You can join my Discord. And here's my socials where you can follow me ever I create content. Reminder to check out Aurora tomorrow on TikTok at 1 p.m. Pacific. Yeah, right?
Let's go. Yeah.
And 1 p.m. Pacific over on Twitch on Tuesday. Yeah, I wouldn't even be streaming on those days, so you have no excuse. You better be over there.
Yeah.
All right, gamers, I love you. Mwah.
Bye.